Welcome back for the second instalment of Being YouTube. This time we have 5 episodes coming and an extras video at the end just for you. At the beginning of the new series I thought why not have a bit of a rant and get our problems out there, so you new and upcoming YouTubers who are thinking about getting your cameras out can see what kind of problems you might face. So once again, welcome back to Being YouTube.
Well, yeah, I've actually had a lot of problems over the course of my YouTube life.
Yeah, you've had problems? I've had problems with you during our YouTube life too. Man, this guy's a tyrant when we film these things. And look at the way that he looks at me, the way he glares at me as if I've done something wrong. And the hairstyle. I'm doing my best to keep up with you here, Nick, but you always gotta one-up me.
Just gonna say I had some uploading issues sometimes.
The number one problem that I had with YouTube is being afraid of what people that saw my videos and even real life would think of me. And I think that held me back a lot because I've actually started YouTubing since 2007.
Now, I think one of the first problems, which probably a lot of people are going to say, is definitely ideas. I tend to find myself quite often, unfortunately, in an ideas drought. See, because initially when I set out doing YouTube, I had loads of ideas in my head and I wanted just to get them all down, and of course I did that immediately and jumped straight into it, releasing videos and filming stuff, and it was all great, it was all fun. And then you start finding yourself coming to certain periods of time where you don't actually have videos to upload on a certain week. And if you've built a small little viewership up, you sort of feel disappointed when you can't get something out.
I wouldn't tell anybody because I was afraid people would be like, what the fuck are you doing? But now I just don't care anymore. So if you like my videos, you like them, and if you hate them, you hate them, and that's life.
I suppose the main problem that I've had on a personal level is trying to figure out what I want to do on YouTube. Most people want to have versatility on their channel. They want to do vlogs, they want to do sketches, they want to do all sorts of stuff, but you also want to have some sort of consistency. You don't want it to be so all over the place. There's also the issue of making YouTube friends. Now, a lot of people, okay, I'm not naming names here, honestly, I've forgotten so many, but they're what I like to call glory chasers. They can see that you might be getting a few views and think, oh, I'll collab with him because he'll help me out, thinking not, he's a nice person, I would like to actually make something nice with him because I like him as a person, but I want to use him as a stepping stone for my own success. That's a big problem I've had.
I would say that the problems that I've had were just keeping the continuity of my channel and being consistent with my uploads. I haven't really had consistent uploading schedules, and it's just been mixed up, so people don't know when my next video is coming, and I feel that I'm neglecting them as a YouTuber or as a viewer.
I can't put content out on select days. It's like, oh, new video every Tuesday and Thursday, or every Friday and Sunday, you know? Like, I really want to have a set schedule, but I just can't do it.
It's not really offering any support to a smaller YouTuber. It's more or less kind of saying, okay, you need to have the best of the best equipment before you even start making a video. Which is, again, kind of disappointment, because there possibly is people out there who are still using webcams who are making fantastic videos with these webcams, but because the quality is not good enough, people are not watching it, they're not sticking around to see it, they're not subscribing.
Well, up until, in fact, this exact video, I've been filming with a camera that doesn't have manual focus and would continually go in and out of focus while I was filming. I've had terrible lighting usually, I don't have a microphone. So when I started YouTube, it was merely me trying to put my mind onto the internet for other people to see and to share with friends and people who might be interested. And you don't plan ahead, you don't think about these things like a very good camera or lighting or sound.
Up until this current video that I'm doing right now, I was using a 9-year-old computer, and the programs that I use on it just would, you know, they'd fart out. They wouldn't work on my computer, so I had to look up all these really kind of, you know, bullshit ways of having to do things just to finish a video. And even after doing all that, it would still take 5 times as long as it should to make a video, but that's what I had to do.
Other than individuals, I think people like disrupting our experience, our journey with YouTube. Other problems like uploading
with a slow connection. Like, especially here in this house, the connection of the internet is so bad compared to my dad's one. Like, oh, it takes about at least about a good 2.5 hours to upload an 11 hour, yes, of course it would.
11-hour vlog.
It would take literally about 2.5 hours to upload an 11-minute vlog of us. So that's a problem. Slow connections, they suck.
I haven't really come across any major problems on YouTube. My biggest ones have been to do with just creating the content and finding the drive to do it, because you have sort of spikes where you're creative and then you have spikes where you're not, and it's just sort of finding the biggest problem I've had is sort of finding the right schedule to work on. So I like scheduling things just of my life as a whole, so it's been about finding the right schedule to work on for my creative outlook, to find the schedule that lets me be the most creative without diminishing returns, so to speak.
If you're talking about my entire YouTube life, then yeah, I've encountered quite a number of problems. I've had little projects with my brother where I've had an argument with him and then haven't been able to finish it because we can't continue making it. Not enough time to edit and put up videos. I've had so that my computer isn't powerful enough to edit the footage or upload it. I've had it so that like my computer's messed up the audio so that the audio's 5 seconds earlier than the video is. I've had people come in and interrupt me filming, which has stopped me filming videos. I've had a lack of time to put up videos. The editing software break, and so I just lost all progress on what I was working on, which was a big project at the time.
The one problem I can think of in terms of us was uni and distance.
Yeah.
And making videos whilst the other person just wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the easiest thing in the world.
I think that's a general problem that we have, like in terms of crew.
Yeah.
It's literally just us, and sometimes it would be nice to have someone manning the camera.
It would.
I have had 1 haters and 2 self-doubt and self-identity crises, if that's even a word. 1 haters, everybody is not going to like you all of the time, but the majority, you are going to be loved and supported by many, many different people. You just got to open yourself up to new experiences and be as positive as possible.
I think that the biggest problems that I've had on YouTube is actually the idea process. It's quite difficult to come up with something that you think is good enough to put out there onto the internet for people to see, and it can be something that stops people from making videos. It is a barrier that blocks you.
I think the 2 biggest problems is lack of motivation and lack of ideas. It's not that I'm all that short on ideas, it's that I'll come up with an idea and then won't have the motivation to make it. And then when I come back to my notes in like a week, 2 weeks time after I thought of the idea, I'll think, this will never work, what the hell was I thinking when I made this? Whereas if I'd have just made it right off the bat, I'd have been able to make a brilliant video.
Well, when I was just starting around age 13, I had absolutely no idea how to edit, and that's a tragedy in itself. I later ended up having problems with a girl who absolutely and obsessively hated me because I stood up for a celebrity. She wrote the meanest things on my channel to the point where I had to block her. That was the first person I ever blocked.
I didn't like the whole Google Plus integration. I think there's good and bad to it. I think a positive thing is that people can comment and subscribe even if they don't have a channel themselves, which is pretty cool, but it just feels like they're forcing it on everybody even though no one wants to use it, which is, I think, a problem.
As fun and as great as YouTube is, it does come with some problems. When I first started out, I think my first video I used a webcam and it was 240p. It wasn't good. I think it feels more and more as if you need the high-tech equipment for people to pay attention to you. You can't just sit in front of a camera and just speak your views anymore. I've had the problem of trying to afford equipment. I mean, I afford it now, but it's been difficult.
I think I've had quite a few problems over my entire YouTube life. Whether it be actually thinking of video ideas, which is quite difficult sometimes, especially if you've got no motivation, or actually having people interacting with your videos, which then again makes you lose motivation to actually make some videos.
Thinking for video ideas that'll actually be good. Like, I'm not actually creative enough or funny enough to think of good YouTube ideas.
I haven't had any problems on YouTube per se, apart from having recognition for my opinion. For instance, I'd ask my viewers, whoever's watching, to comment what they think about blah blah blah, and yeah, I'd get like 120 views but only like 6 comments, which doesn't make me feel great, but it's great, 120 views. But I'd prefer to have 30 views and 30 comments than 120 views and 5 comments. There's not much interaction there.
Number one, I think it would definitely be when I started out, the editing software I had was Windows Live Movie Maker, and that was just horrible to edit, so I could never get things to look the way I wanted them to, and then that's just so frustrating to deal with.
One of the main things, and it's totally opposite to what most people say, is you learn a lot about people. I've met some really great people, but I've met some really awful people doing this. All they care about is getting views, getting subscribers, getting likes, and it's just really uncomfortable at times because you don't know whether somebody's like trying to be your friend or if somebody's trying to get something from you.
I've had multiple accounts of death threats on YouTube, but luckily for me, I'm a positive person who was able to brush them off, and I didn't mind them that much because if they were attacking me, at least it was taking some of their time away from sending messages to someone who might not be able to brush off the comments as easily as I did.
The only other problems that I can think of is that I had people from my past that I weren't really good friends with suddenly act like my best friend just because they created a YouTube channel. Now, I don't have thousands of subscribers, but I have more than anyone else that they knew.
Really, the biggest problem that I have is making time for YouTube. I'm super busy with school and work and theater that I don't have the time that I'd really like to have to devote to YouTube. I don't have the time to sit and make a video and edit that video and upload it. And not only that, I don't have a lot of time to even watch other people's videos, and I hate that because I feel really out of the loop with everyone, and I feel like a bad YouTuber and a bad friend because I do consider a lot of people on here to be really good friends of mine.
I think the biggest problem I've had is getting to grips with the fact that sometimes you gotta cut out stuff you think is funny if you want the video to actually get seen by anyone. Like, I think 20 minutes of me punching a sandwich is funny, but will people watch that?
I think for me the problems with YouTube derive more from the technological restrictions I have personally. Obviously not all of the biggest YouTubers have the state-of-the-art equipment like editing software and cameras and things, but most of them seem to.
To be honest, I've been quite lucky in my YouTube life. I haven't really faced that many problems, aside from maybe forking out quite a large amount on camera equipment. Saying that though, I suppose the beginning was quite tricky. It's hard to be taken seriously on YouTube if you don't have a good camera setup or good camera quality, and that I most certainly did not have at the beginning.
I've had copyright problems because when I started YouTube, I didn't really realise the whole copyright idea and what you're not allowed to do and what you're not supposed to do, and all of it is very confusing. And even when you get royalty-free music, which the YouTubers say, you can use my music, and you put credit to them, and YouTube still is like, oh, this isn't your stuff, kind of thing.
The only real problem I've ever had was copyright music, and that was because I used a lot in my old videos back in like 2006, and then by 2008 they become an issue and they blocked them all. Well, they muted the audio, and then once the audio's been muted, the videos are kind of useless, and it wouldn't really have the same effect if I'd used different music, or the music might have been in the background, and therefore you can't really take it out and replace it because it would cost editing, and I lost all the videos back like in a year before, so I really relied on them being on YouTube for the only sort of source.
I don't mind. None of my videos have been taken down or anything, just they're not available on YouTube, on mobile phone devices and things, which is fine. I mean, you know, I did make a mistake, and if they do take them down, I'll just re-upload them with different songs and stuff.
People do like to see professional looking content, and if you've got this editing software which allows you to do a lot of things, then it allows for more creativity, and that you can sort of bring your ideas to life in a way that I personally wouldn't be able to using Windows Movie Maker, which is what I use. So a lot of my ideas are sort of restricted in that way.
From the first day that I uploaded my very first video to the latest one that I did, dedication seems to be my main problem.
I haven't really had anything that I would consider as a problem with YouTube. Google Plus. Yeah, but seriously, all hail our evil overlords.
I think my biggest battle has been anxiety. It's really hard to be a YouTuber when you're so scared of being negatively judged. It's especially hard when YouTube kind of thrives off little communities and you're just so scared to talk to people and get involved in that. But in a way, I think YouTube's kind of helped with my anxiety too.
That takes effort and that takes time to do, especially if you want good quality content and you want to show yourself in the best light possible. So yeah, dedication and putting the time in to do these YouTube videos, that's my main problem.
I think editing the videos and coming up with the ideas is probably the worst, because my editing software, it came with my laptop, so it isn't the best editing software and I can't really do a lot of things on it.
The main problem I've had to overcome is the equipment. To start with, I just used an old camcorder, which was alright to start with, but didn't really have good quality, and I started just editing my videos on Movie Maker, which was alright to start with, but it meant that I was very limited what I did.
Probably the biggest problem that I've had over my YouTube life has been actually starting in the first place, because I toyed with the idea for a long time and I was very nervous and I wasn't sure if I was good enough, if people would watch me, if people would make fun of me. So it took me a long time to kind of get the nerve to try it.
I mean, it also doesn't help that our camera that we use doesn't have a flip screen.
Yeah.
So we can't see what we're doing.
We can't see it going wrong until the editing process. That's the thing as well. Yeah. Editing and realising that all your footage is actually
awful. Yeah.
Coming up with the ideas, I normally don't do. I normally just throw together a video, oh, you know what, this will work. I'm just going to put this together without any planning, and hopefully it'll work. Like this video right now, I'm kind of winging it.
I think the main problem I've always had and still do have is confidence and getting ideas, because when I started my old YouTube channel where I did covers and stuff and it wasn't really as serious, I had idea after idea after idea until I ran dry, and then I had no idea what to do. And now I'm working on more of my own original content. It's a lot more difficult to come up with those ideas.
I was pretty much out of commission internet-wise for over a month, and that was no fun. But I'm back, and that's great, and it's a new computer, so I shouldn't have any problems like that anytime soon, which is great. Hooray!
There's a video I did recently where I adjusted the focus for a shot, a handheld shot, and then I put it back on the tripod and didn't adjust the focus back and so there's just a little bit of me talking to the camera with a blurry face.
What I've learned is the more you do it, the more experience you gain and the more confidence you gain with talking to a machine essentially, and you get to have awesome YouTuber friends community support.
I am probably one of the most nervy, terrified people you will ever meet in real life and on the internet. I just have trouble talking to people on a face-to-face basis, and that includes facing a camera.
During my YouTube career, I've hit a fair bit of controversy here and there, and the trouble with YouTube, especially if you're a vlogger or a sketch comedian or anything like that, is trying to kind of push the envelope without pushing it too far. And that's a really difficult game to play. Of course, the other problems that I think myself and many other YouTubers have faced is being able to get past that negative criticism, especially when you're small.
I sometimes get nervous when I post vlogs with very strong opinions or things that kind of go off the normal track of what I do.
Since Ali's finished uni, you now have time to do stuff, whereas I don't a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So most of the bulk of the work ends up going to you because I don't have the time to do it, which sucks. But
you also have a far more active social life than I do.
I do.
You're like, hey, I got a free day, and I'm like, let's film. You're like, oh, I'm going to hang out with friends.
I definitely say I have struggled with the equipment and how it has limited on what I can do on YouTube.
Money is another problem I have. I can't afford the cameras and I don't have a lot of space or time to do a lot of things, so I can't at the moment get my videos up to par with maybe some of the other people with my level of experience, which is about 2 or 3 years.
I would say to you, just believe in yourself. I know it's really tough and cliched, but it is true.
I guess really kind of growing an audience, like it's amazing, the audience that I have are just fantastic and I love them, but kind of keep building on that and to find new ways to do that are kind of acceptable in the community. It's quite tricky, and it's something that I've kind of discussed with a lot of other YouTubers, and it's just, there doesn't seem to be a good proper way of doing that, a good decent platform for new vloggers specifically, or smaller channels, to get their stuff out there.
YouTube's supposed to be fun. Can't we all just enjoy ourselves and do, just come on, there should be no problems here. Why is there any problems at all? Why is there any pressure at all? It's a video making site, for crying out loud. This is not a real job. Come on.
I think the best thing that I noticed, and probably the most touching thing that I've picked up from YouTube, is that those things don't actually matter. I started off my YouTube channel with a terrible camera and a really bad editing software, and do you know what? I still have some bad editing software, but the fact is I still managed to attract a demographic of people, a small community. I've been able to make some friends, and I've been able just to get by making some enjoyable videos that people like, and it just goes to show that that sort of stuff actually doesn't matter. And a lot of the things that you think are problems, they're really not. People will like you for who you are.
As Alex so well stated, there may be many problems as you start your YouTube life, and even when you're many years in, but none of it really matters. Because there may be a few YouTube cons, there are far many more YouTube pros. And once you establish yourself as part of a community of friends and people you will later learn to know so well, the problems seem ever more and more so small. What YouTuber can say they've had no problems whatsoever? But it's those problems that make you who you are. You push through it, and if you're still here on the other side, then you know you're one of us. You're a YouTuber. I'm Darren Martin, or as many of you know, I've been Darren.